Inshallah, we'll start. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. So we were talking about arrogance and humility, and we left off talking about how some people are humble before the rich people just because they are rich. And we left off this part, hadith from or riwayat from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He said, it's good for the rich to show humility before the poor to seek reward from Allah. But better than that is the haughtiness of the poor towards the rich with trust in Allah. Um, it's always good to honor people who may seem lowly in the eyes of the rest of the people because, just because they are poor or they have a low level job, for example. We should give salam and ask how the janitor is doing. When we see them, we should greet them, acknowledge them, and we shouldn't ignore them like most people do. Most people see them as like invisible. For example, a person in the maktab who brings chai to everyone. Maybe someone doesn't greet him, but if I remember in Najaf, me and Sheikh Kulaini were in the Hausa, and there was always this one guy, but no one really, talked to him that much. And he was Afghani, I think, and he was working, he was cleaning, but I remember Sheikh Kuleni always made a point to greet him and talk with him and ask him how he's doing, how his family is doing. And for him, like an alim, addressing him and talking to him and being concerned about his well-being, it made his day. And he was very happy. And that's how we should be. Just some people, they get a position or they get money or something like that, and then they feel I'm in a higher status. So what should I do talking to these people that are in a lower status, for example? But this status in the dunya and money and all this, it doesn't mean anything in reality because the closest one to Allah is the one who has the most taqwa. So it could be the person who's, cleaning the bathrooms has the most taqwa, whereas the person who has all types of money and houses and cars and all these other things, he doesn't have taqwa. So who is better in the eyes of Allah is the one who is cleaning the bathroom, obviously. So we shouldn't look at the person's wealth or their status, but we need to look at their deeds and their sincerity, their taqwa, and see how they conduct themselves. And we should be kind and courteous to everyone that we meet. He said the poor can behave with arrogance towards the rich. So that was speaking about being humble towards the poor people. Also, the poor people can be, he says they can behave with arrogance towards the rich, but not because they feel they are superior or have pride or something like that, but because they trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the basis of that, they are needless of other people. And their reliance is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is in control of everything. So this is a manner as to say that the poor are not reliant on the rich, as the rich they may perceive them to be that, oh, you're relying on me because I am employing you, but rather they are reliant on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The employer, he is just the means, So the poor person doesn't need to bend over backwards and, kiss the hand and the feet of the person who is richer than him. He can have dignity and stand up and, because he has reliance and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not humbling himself before the rich just because they are rich. It's mentioned that one day a rich person came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he had very expensive clothes on. Then he sat down in the majlis. After that, a beggar came, a very poor person, old clothes, and he sat next to the rich man. And the rich man, he grabbed his clothes and he moved them closer to him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, stopped what he was doing and he asked that rich man, Are you afraid that his poverty is going to jump off of him and land on you? And the rich man said, no. So Rasulullah asked him if he feared that maybe his wealth was going to, decrease and then go towards the beggar because they were too close or their clothes touched each other or something. He said, no. So then the Prophet asked him if he moved away, maybe you felt like your clothes would become dirty or stained because they touched his clothes, or maybe the smell of his clothes would transfer onto your clothes. He said, no. So Rasulullah asked him, why did you act like that? And he said, my natural tendency is to regard every good deed as bad and every evil deed as good. But now I reform myself and I wish to give half of my wealth to this poor person, who I offended. So Rasulullah asked him, the poor man, would you accept half of his wealth? And the poor man, he refused. And he said, because I am afraid that maybe I take half of his wealth and I also fall into pride and become like that rich man and start treating people badly. And the author says it must be borne in mind that arrogance towards the rich is only with respect to riches. As far as Iman or faith is concerned, we have to be just as humble to a believing beggar as the same towards a believing rich person. And all these riwayat about, the rich people, and sometimes people come to think that riches are bad and they should denounce the world and be like we see how, like Sufism is, for example, and they renounce the dunya. We also renounce the dunya, but um, dunya, some parts of this dunya are good if you use them in the good way. Like look at Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. He was the richest man in creation, but he used his riches for good. So if a person has money, there's even du'as that say to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for wealth. So in order that you can spend it in his way. So having money is good if we do it in a good way. Imagine if no one had any money, how would we build Masajid or Husseiniya, or how would we support the poor and the needy people in the community? So money is a good thing, but it needs to be done in a good way and not to become arrogant like this person did when he sat next to the poor person. He got away from him. He didn't want to be near that person. He said, in general, we have to have a balanced approach in all our actions and dealings with no excess in either way. The same applies to humility. It should also have its limits. Excessive humility is degrading to oneself, and a believer shouldn't do anything to compromise his honor, his respect, his dignity. So the degree of humility we show also depends upon the person that's concerned. For example, he says it would be ridiculous to show the same degree of humility to strangers that we show to our parents or our relatives. Similarly, respect for scholars who practice what they preach and Sadat must be more than the respect for others. The leaders of the community must be paid more respect than the attendees. Actions which are appropriate with the parents and the scholars, for example, like kissing their hand or kissing their forehead, are not to be practiced with just a common stranger, for example. There's a difference. And there's an example of this in Safinatul Bahar, from Imam Askari alayhi salam. He said that one day a religious person from among his companions visited Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he had his son with him. So Imam Ali alayhi salam stood up and gave respect to the man, and he ordered his servant Kambar to arrange some meal for them. So they sat and they ate together, and then Kambar, he brought a pot of water and a towel to wash their hands. So Ali alayhi salam, he picked up the water pot himself and he wanted to wash the hands of his guest. And then the guest refused. He's like, no, no, I don't want to let you wash my hands. How is it possible for a slave to allow his master to serve him? So Imam Ali alayhi salam said, what if by washing hands, my Lord and master will be pleased with me? You wash your hands as if Kambar is pouring water out for you. So These words, it made the companion to have his hands washed by Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he poured the water for him. After this, Imam Ali alayhi salam gave the water pot to his son, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, and he told him to pour out water for the son, so that the status of the father and the son is not made equal. He said, if the father had not come with his son, I myself would have poured water on both the father and the son's hands, but I couldn't do it in the presence of the father. So if Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam washed the hands of the son himself, the status of the father and the son would have been equal. But Imam Ali alayhi salam upheld the dignity of the father by not washing the hands of the son, and he had his son wash his hands. So there's different degrees and levels of the respect shown. Everyone is shown respect, but sometimes in different capacities. Because maybe if he would have done that, it would have shown disrespect towards the father, because he also washed the son's hands instead of having his son wash his son's hands. He said, a humble person will not mind sitting behind everyone in a gathering. He will be the one to initiate the greetings. He will give up arguments and squabbles, even if he is right. He will not like to be praised for his piety. And some people think they need a special place in the majlis, or they're entitled to be in the first rank for salat, for example. When you enter a room, you may sit anywhere with people. It doesn't matter. And yes, sometimes people offer you to move forward to the front, and sometimes they lead you there, and that's okay because it falls under the right of accepting invitations. The issue is with someone having pride and they feel entitled to be in the foremost position, and he feels upset if he's treated differently than not if he's not treated differently than others. So if he's treated the same, like for example, someone walks into the Husseiniya and they walk all the way to the very front and they sit in the front because they feel that is where they are entitled to sit. Whereas someone who is humble, he would sit in the back. He doesn't care. Maybe he would pray in the back of the ranks, even though he is an alim. He comes in, he would pray in the back. Doesn't matter. We're all in the same jama'ah, the same congregational prayer. It doesn't matter to him. But some people, they feel entitled. Some people, they feel entitled that everyone needs to give them salam and they shouldn't initiate salam to other people. Some people feel that they are entitled to be the first one in the rank, in the line to get the food after majlis, for example. I remember Sheikh Mustafa Hund, he would always go stand in the line. And when we were in Imam Ali Center, he would go stand in the line with everybody else and wait his turn to get his food. They would try to bring him to the front, and he was like, no, I'm going to wait just like everybody else. This is a type of humility that you don't feel entitled to something else. And when a person is praised for their piety, they don't like it. Uh, that's something I also gained from Sheikh Mustafa. When people would praise him, oh, your lecture is so good, mashallah, you did this, you did that, mashallah, is so nice, and this. He would always say, may Allah accept it from us. He wouldn't say like thank you that yeah, we did a great program and this and that. He would always say may Allah accept it. So uh, it kind of showed me. I used to spend a lot of time with ulama, with him, with his father, with his uncle, with many different ulama in that center. It was maybe 5 or 6 ulama always in that place, and I learned a lot of good things from them. And that was one thing that never to, get proud for what you are doing. It always depends on Allah accepting your intentions and your niyyah, and to keep it solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The author says, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said, it is necessary that you make humility a habit because it is one of the greatest acts of worship. He says it's mentioned in Safinatul Bahar that after every salat, Musa ibn Imran, he used to touch both his cheeks to the ground with utmost humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And due to this, Allah gave him the status of Kalimullah, the one with whom Allah spoke. So uh, this is one of the practices that's recommended in Sajda to Shukr, to do Sajda and then put your cheek on the ground, then your other cheek. It is a sign of humility to put your cheeks on the dust and on the ground. He says, Imam Rida alayhi salam said, humility is that you give to people what they like, so that they may also give it to you. So one of the companions asked Imam Rida alayhi salam, what was the standard of humility and what was its nature? So Imam said, there are some grades for humility. One of them is that a person should understand his value and do everything according to that. Rather, he should come down a little bit with perfect consciousness. He should like for others only those things that he likes for himself. If someone is bad to him, he returns it with goodness, and he must swallow his anger, and he must forgive the people. Allah certainly likes those who do good. He mentioned ayat from Quran. So this is what the Imam described as humility. For example, swallowing the anger. This is one of the attributes that Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam is known for, al-Qadhim, the one who swallows his anger. And also Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said that nothing was sweeter in his eyes than swallowing the anger. So sometimes we get angry and we want to say something, but then we swallow the anger, and like the narration said, to give up, arguing even when one is in the right. I remember one of my teachers, Sheikh Abbas, he was telling me that he was worked very long day in the center, maybe 12 hours doing all sorts of things. And then someone came and said, can you do a majlis at our house? So he said, okay, I'll go. He's very tired. But he went, and he is Arab, and Arabic is his mother language. But when he was giving his speech, he gave a talk, nice talk. But in one place, maybe he used fatha instead of dhamma or something like this, something small. And he said the person came after the majlis and said, Sheikhna, I think you should go improve your Arabic, because in this case you said fatha and it should have been dhamma, should have been ah and not u at the end of the word, for example. And he's thinking to himself, my God, I've been working 12 hours today. I came and did majlis for you. I did a nice talk for you. And all you get out of that is that I should have said fatah instead of dhamma. You didn't get anything else out of that talk except this one mistake I made, slip of my tongue because I was tired. And, but he said, I felt like I wanted to say something, but then I didn't. And I just said, okay, alhamdulillah, I made a mistake. And, he swallowed his anger and kept going. So a lot of times people will criticize us, and we have to swallow our anger instead of flying off the handle or saying the first thing that comes to our mind. We should always keep Allah in remembrance and know that Allah says, Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. Verily, Allah is with the patient ones. He said it's recorded also in Safinatul Bahar that Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Qadhim alayhi salam, he said salam to African man from Sudan when he walked by him. Then he went near him and he spoke to him for some time. After that, he said, tell me if there is anything I can do for you. People said, Yamna Rasulullah, you go towards such a person. They're meaning you are going towards a black man, for example, and you are asking about his needs when he is more needy than you. Imam said, he is a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is our brother in faith. Both of us have got the best father, Nabi Adam alayhi salam, the father of humanity, and both of us are bestowed with the gift of Islam, the best religion. Maybe time would render both of us more needy than him, so why should we feel proud of ourselves? And we see here in the teachings of Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam is the solution for all humanity. All of these age-old issues such as racism, tribalism, that are tearing our nations apart, can be solved by just following the teachings of Quran and the example of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We see how the best creation on the earth at that time, Imam Qadam, or seventh Imam, what he said about interacting with one of the African brothers. When the other Arabs, for example, said, why are you doing that? Why are you going to him? They thought that a person of your status shouldn't go and talk with him, especially ask him what he needs, and like you are wanting to serve him. And Imam says, no, we both have the same father, who is Adam. We both are Muslim. We are equal in the eyes of Allah. Only one who is better is taqwa. He's showing them that we should not get caught up in this racism, or my country is better than your country, my tribe is better than your tribe, and all of these things. This is one of the things that when we look at the Muslim world, it's good to be, proud of where you come from, but it's not good to think that, okay, I'm from this place and I am better than everybody else who is from out of my country. For example, one country is next to other country, and they say, oh, we are better than you guys because we are from this country, because of some line drawn in the sand that says this is ours and this is yours. No, when you look at it, we are all one big ummah, one big Islamic nation. All of these countries are full of Muslims. So no one is better than the other one because I am from this country, you are from that country, he is from this country. It doesn't matter. We have to look at taqwa. We shouldn't look at these things. He said, um, Muhammad ibn Muslim, he was a very rich companion, one of the narrators of many narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. He was from Kufa. He was a companion of Imam Bakr and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So one day, Imam Bakr alayhi salam, he told him, he said, Ya Muhammad, be humble. So that's all he said to him. So it's up to him how he wants to interpret this and what the Imam means. He didn't ask. So when he returned to Kufa from Medina, he took a container of dates and a balance, like a scale, and he sat outside the masjid. So he called that whoever wants to buy dates could come and buy them from him. And he was doing this in order to destroy his pride. So, imagine someone who is over a multi-million dollar company, for example, and then they go out in the street and they sell tomatoes or potatoes or bananas or something like this, like they would never in their wildest dreams want to do that. But in order to destroy his pride, he said, you know what? I'm going to go sell some dates in the street like a regular person in bazaar. So his relatives, they came and they said by acting like this, he was causing an insult to his family honor. So he said that his master, Imam Bakr alayhi salam, ordered him to do this, to be humble, and he couldn't obey the command of his master. And he wouldn't move from his place until he sold every date that he had brought there. So his relative said that if he really wanted to buy and sell and do tajara or trade, that he should go to the place where wheat is ground into flour. So he agreed. He said, okay. And he got a camel and a millstone and started a flour mill so that by this occupation, his pride would be destroyed and that he would see himself as a common person. You know, we have to crush our inner pride, whatever thing that we are proud of, that we feel, oh, I did this, I did that, I did, all these things. We didn't do anything without the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the power of Allah, the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We couldn't do anything without that. So we shouldn't think that I did this or I did that. And when we start to think, I'm the one who built this Husseiniya. I'm the one who organized the Majlis. I'm the reason that everyone is here. I am the reason that my recitation is so nice that everyone wants to come here and pray Salat with me. Or I am the reason that all of these people have food. Or I am the reason that they have clothes or this or that. we have to crush that pride within ourselves. When we start to look around and we say, oh, I am from here and I am better than everybody else who is not from here. I've seen people, they're very proud people for no reason at all, have very bad akhlaq, have all sort of, they're not, their character is very bad. But then they come and they say, I am from the land of Islam and you are from somewhere else, so I am better than you. I remember one time a guy told me that no matter how much I prayed or how much I fasted or how many times I went to Hajj or whatever I did in my entire life, if he never prayed, never fasted, never went to Hajj, he would still be better than me because he was born in the land of Islam. What kind of, pride and arrogance is that? So when we start to feel that pride rise up in ourselves, we have to remember this is the sin that got Shaitan outcast. And he is the one, this pride is the reason that he was cursed and that he lost his position. So we have to remember this is one of the ways of the Shaitan, and Allah says, do not follow in the footsteps of Shaitan. So anyone, whenever they feel they are starting to be proud or arrogant, they have to humble themselves by some means, and they have to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Shaitan. And maybe they have to humble themselves like Muhammad ibn Muslim, who went and sold dates, for example. Maybe someone has a fancy car like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or some big fancy car, and they get so much attention from the car, they feel like they're on top of the world because of that car. Maybe they need to go drive, to humble themselves. Maybe they need to go get, one of the old cars from a long time ago, like 1990s Corolla or Civic, or those things are still going. Maybe they need to go and get one of those and drive it for a while just to humble themselves. Whatever we have to do, we have to crush our pride and make sure we do not become mutakabbir or arrogant. So with this, inshallah, we've ended this section about pride and arrogance and about being humble and having humility. And inshallah, we'll start the next chapter next week, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma